Hi, everyone. So today is March 22nd, and a week ago there were the Grammys. So, kind of taking advantage of this topic to talk about music and do we listen to music in other languages and do we play any other instruments and things. Um, I didn't get a chance to watch the Grammys, but I did see some kind of news about who had won several awards, and I think like Beyonce uh, having a record of I don't know wins at awards, um, and then kind of going in and checking out some of the artists and some of the songs and also the ones who are nominated as well because there's just a lot of talent. And I mean music shouldn't really be considered a competition because everybody is just expressing themselves through music. You know, it's like trying to get an award for who speaks English better. I mean, everybody is speaking it. Um, I've grew up learning music and playing and also writing music as well, and I'm getting back into writing music now as well. So when I grew up, when I was about 10 or so, I had a teacher who was explaining for like the elementary school band and trying to recruit potential students. Somehow I heard that if I played the trombone, I could get a scholarship to university. I had no idea what a scholarship was, but it sounded like a good thing. So I signed up to kind of learn the trombone. I did get a little bit bored of it. I mean, it was mostly like the bass lines and things, but ironically, later on, I loved playing bass lines with other instruments. But um, after about a year with the trombone, I also decided to start picking up the piano and took private lessons for about a year or so, or a year or two. Um, then I kind of, after, I think it was like, so I think I was doing like trombone in like fourth, fifth, sixth grade. And when I changed schools for middle school, at the time, Bill Clinton was the new president, and I was kind of bored with the piano and the trombone. My parents said, "Hey, why don't you try out the saxophone?" So that was kind of popular since the president played the alto saxophone. So I picked up the alto saxophone. Then a year later, we were doing some kind of a school inventory or a band inventory of all the instruments that were there, and I realized that there was this tenor saxophone that had been just kind of sitting unused this whole year. And meanwhile, I had been renting that alto saxophone. So I switched from the alto to the tenor and continue with that. And then, so there was 2 years of middle school. And then in high school, I think I was kind of in between tenor saxophone, alto saxophone, also trying to get back into the trombone. The school teacher was okay with that. There were instruments at the school, but then later, I think at the end of the year, that director left, but he wasn't so keen about having like me play three instruments, where he preferred to have three separate people play three separate instruments. So I ended up kind of defaulting to the alto saxophone after like 2 years of the tenor. Although I think I did like the tenor a lot more, but um, I know they needed an alto saxophone player in the jazz band, and I was ended up playing that like the rest of the 3 years that I was doing like marching band and jazz band. Then I was also thinking about switching over to piano and jazz band, and then I realized half the time when we were playing in this theater, the theater department had like a set. So we couldn't be moving the piano so easily. So the piano players, we were just kind of sitting and we weren't playing. But I realized there wasn't a baritone saxophone in the second band that I was with for the jazz band. So I said, "Hey, there's this baritone saxophone that the school has. Like, hey, can I play it?" And so they were sure. So I started to pick that up, I think, in junior year, and I played that junior year and senior year, and I really liked that. I mean, so it's kind of funny how I went from the trombone, giving up on the bass lines were kind of boring, and then I get back to the baritone sax in junior year and senior year. And then also at my local church, I started teaching myself guitar. I think at the end of freshman year, my brother gave me a nylon guitar that one of his friends had given him, and it was kind of just, I guess, a tradition that he was saying, hey, just kind of hand down this guitar. And then I was bugging him like, hey, what are the notes? And I remember kind of going through and making these kind of charts and kind of getting the notes once I was figuring out like how that was kind of related to the piano, or how the notes were kind of going up with the frets kind of one by one, and how the piano was kind of going up step by step. So I made these charts, kind of like these Excel things, and I was looking at like, okay, if I put my finger here and here and here, and I do that on the guitar, then I could create these chords. So I was figuring out the chords based on what I knew about the notes and the theory, and if I take that, like those three, that would be this chord, or if I get a couple of those notes. So I wasn't exactly just learning random positions and then knowing that those names, but I was trying to kind of decode the instrument, what I could do with it, and then start kind of teaching myself with it. And at the local church, I offered to kind of start playing in, there was a youth band that was like a Sunday mass, and I said, hey, I'd like to play guitar. My guitar skills were not all that great at the time, and they said, well, we like your enthusiasm, but you know what, we don't have electric bass. So they said, here, we'll get you an electric bass. And then I started just going basically like the bottom four strings of the guitar. Now it was just like those four strings. And I started playing. I was doing that in junior year, senior year, doing that when I was in university as well. And that was every Sunday we were kind of playing, and I was kind of getting into bass lines and leading the bass. It was just, it felt like a mini concert every Sunday, and there was a variety of music, and getting the sheet music, getting the names of the chords, and also the leading on, like they needed the bottom note. The pianist was also reminding me a lot of like, no, we need you to play that note, not the name of the chord. So I did get a lot of training, and there was a mix of kind of rock and like jazz elements there, and at the university I was mostly working on the piano for like classic studies and writing music. I had one or two different composition teachers at two different universities where I was at the same time, and then eventually when I got my university degree, my senior recital was I played a little bit of some music from Schumann, the Scenes from Childhood, and then my own creations that I had been working on. So I had a piano and clarinet duet. There was like two piano solos. There were on the second half, I had a handful of friends sing like an a cappella, just an arrangement that I had wrote for four voices, and then there was a solo for a violin that a friend interpreted, and then a small chamber ensemble I had with like cello, French horn, oboe, and flute, and those friends were kind of some of it was improvisatory, and some of it was kind of what I had written, and that was interesting to kind of hear that piece, and it had like a suite. It had like three things: a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that was really cool to kind of just sit back and watch in the audience people, people, my friends, my musicians and singers that were interpreting, performing the music that I had written, and there was an audience, and they were reacting to this music, and it was just it's a very surreal experience, not just be on stage performing what you've written, but also being part of the audience. And I thought that's like one of the rare moments in my life where I've had that. I'd love to see that again if I could have that. And then more recently, about 10 years ago, I started learning the violin. I was taking some violin studies with a teacher I had who was teaching me Russian, and it turned out that he was also an accomplished musician, and so he taught me some stuff. And then once my daughter was born, I mean, we changed teachers and we got into some other another school for the music lessons. And then after my daughter was born, it just got really complicated to have like a baby and a 2-year-old, and so the music kind of just took a back seat for a while, unfortunately. But here I have a piano. I just got a brand new acoustic electric guitar, so the electric metal strings. I have a violin. I have my electric bass. I have an alto saxophone that a friend of mine had given me a while ago. So I do have several instruments that I can play, and that does make me, that I have things that I have at my disposition that I can play. I want to practice them, get better at them, not just have them kind of sitting collecting dust, but definitely use them, play them, and kind of use them, express myself with them. Music is definitely part of me. It'll always be part of me, and there's been moments where it's been up and down and different life commitments and obligations, but it's always there. And I think it's a great hobby to have. I think at some point with my music studies and teaching English and teaching languages, I kind of had to figure out that, well, music can be a competition. I don't know, we're talking about Grammys. So in some cases you're competing for jobs and getting word of mouth for people saying like, hey, hire this person. But with the English, I realized like, okay, I have 20 years of experience. I've had a lot of experience teaching. There will always be a lot of people looking for English classes around the world, and that's been true. That has kept me busy for a long time. But yeah. Okay. Hola a todos. Hoy es el día número 22 y estamos hablando un poco de los Grammys y la música y qué hacemos si tocamos instrumentos, si escuchamos música en otros idiomas. Y pues ahorita acabo de hablar mucho sobre los instrumentos que toco, entonces voy a hablar un poquito sobre la música que escucho en otros idiomas. Y entonces, por ejemplo, con mis clases de español tenía una maestra que empezaba a hacernos descubrir música nueva. Entonces había en esa época una cantante colombiana muy desconocida, ahora es súper famosa, se llama Shakira, y en esa época pues estábamos escuchando canciones de su CD de como Pies Descalzos, y me acuerdo haber escuchado como Ya estoy aquí, y al mismo tiempo yo estaba aprendiendo la guitarra, entonces aprendí a tocar Ya estoy aquí en la guitarra y intentar cantarlo y aprender la letra en español. Entonces eso todo junto me gustaba mucho, y nos enseñó más canciones de otros grupos que estaba como popular en esa época de los mediados de los 90s, y también en esa época pues la rock latina era en gran crecimiento. Me acuerdo como unos eventos que iba yo a unos conciertos al final de los 90s, y qué más, en Hollywood, y conciertos también. Fui a conocer a ver un grupo Molotov y unos otros grupos. Creo que había visto en Universal los Enanitos Verdes, me acuerdo si Café Tacuba tocaba, yo creo, y sí, otros grupos muy conocidos. Um, yo creo que en francés, sí me acuerdo, cuando yo visité a Francia por primera vez, era muy popular la música del grupo Louise Attaque. Entonces los jóvenes estaban escuchando eso y un amigo me dio un cassette que copió del CD, del cassette. Entonces yo estaba escuchando eso constantemente, las canciones de ese grupo en francés. Um, no me acuerdo para alemán, yo creo que en finales de los 90 había el Rammstein, pero yo creo que él era casi lo único que era popular en alemán. Um, o si no, en la universidad yo estaba escuchando bueno, de ópera o cosas de música clásica en alemán o de Bach, porque yo estaba en un coro en la universidad, entonces había cosas clásicas en alemán. Eh, tenía una clase de italiano, me acuerdo que la profesora nos tocaba unas canciones de como, por ejemplo, Blue y Dipinto di Blue. Um, ¿Y qué más? Cuando vine a México por primera vez, pues compré varios discos de grupos mexicanos y entonces yo estaba escuchando eso y también a conocer grupos de otros países, por ejemplo, como Soda Stereo y grupos de España también. Entonces, sí, ya estaba escuchando más grupos. ¿Y qué más? Luego, para los otros idiomas como ruso, polaco, no sé qué más, um, empezaba a usar Spotify en, um, en el trabajo yo usaba un poco el listado de canciones populares del año entonces yo buscaba esos nombres, el autor o la canción y escuchaba un poquito, me gustó, no me gustó y si me gustó y lo añadió a una lista, pues empezaba a hacer recomendaciones por el algoritmo con otras cosas. Entonces ya iba descubriendo unas cosas en polaco, en ruso. eh, y sí me gusta ir descubriendo música en otros idiomas y también hay cosas familiares de ciertos periodos, por ejemplo, de como los 90 hay un sonido que es muy reconocido, aunque no lo conocía en esa época, pero me trae unas memorias o recuerdos, no forzosamente de esa canción, pero la época con ese sonido. Entonces es muy interesante también de ir descubriendo esa música. Sí. Bonjour tout le monde, aujourd'hui c'est le 22e jour du défi en mars et on parle un peu des Grammys et les instruments de musique et j'ai déjà raconté un peu sur ce que je joue et ce que j'ai appris à l'école et au fur et à mesure avec des années. Et puis en espagnol, je racontais un peu sur écouter la musique dans d'autres langues et je crois que utiliser les lettres dans une autre langue avec la musique, c'est une très bonne manière d'apprendre la prononciation, élargir le vocabulaire. Donc ça c'est bien. Et je me rappelle, j'écoutais pas mal de musique quand j'habitais en France. J'avais une radio à la maison. Et donc j'avais ça pour écouter quand je voulais. Et quoi d'autre Et ouais, j'ai utilisé quelques chansons pour apprendre aussi la poésie aussi. Ouais. je vais avoir un cours bientôt, donc je vais essayer de changer d'autres langues. Hallo an alle, heute ist der 22. Tag in der Herausforderung und sprechen wir ein bisschen über die Grammys und auch die Instrument, das ich habe gespielt und ich habe es gesagt auf Englisch, aber war ich klein oder jung, ich habe die Trombone, Piano, Saxophon, Gitarre, Electric Bass, Tenor Saxophon, Bariton Saxophon und auch es gibt 10 Jahre habe ich die Geige gelernt und dort, wo wohne ich habe ein Klavier, eine neue Gitarre, das ich habe gekauft diese Wochenende, eine Geige und auch eine Electric Guitar und Electric Bass und auch Saxophon. Es ist alle für die Instrument und ich schreibe ein bisschen mehr. Es freut mich sehr und ja, das ist alle für heute. Aber ich denke, dass ich möchte mehr Musik auf Deutsch hören. Ich kenne nicht so viel Gruppe. Ja, das ist alle. Ciao a tutti, oggi è il giorno 22 e parliamo un po' della musica, per esempio ai Grammy era una settimana e ho parlato in inglese, in spagnolo e francese un po' sopra gli strumenti che suono. Per esempio il trombone, pianino, saxofono, chitarra, basso, elettrico, violino. Mi piace anche scrivere e ma ascoltare musica in altre lingue mi piace molto per incontrare nuove cose ma penso che non ascolto molto in italiano per il momento ma mi piacerebbe incontrare. Questo è tutto perché ho una classe скоро. Всем привет! Сегодня 22-й день из челленджа, и мы говорим немного о музыке, потому что неделя назад был Grammys, и мы говорим немного о инструментах, и также, если мы слушаем на разных языках, и мне нравится слушать музыку на русском, но я слушал немного в Spotify, и также я ищу в Google и YouTube, чтобы искать, найти новые музык, что я могу слушать. У меня есть занятие сейчас, потому что я буду закончить здесь, но большое спасибо и до скорого.